Oedipus Rex, king of Thebes, had an interesting and tragic life. He was abandoned as a baby, and a shepherd found him. The shepherd delivered him to the childless king and queen of Corinth, who raised baby Oedipus as their own. However, as Oedipus grew up, he came to know that he wasn't the king and queen's real son, which broke his heart. With many questions hanging on his head, he decided to consult the oracle of Delphi. The oracle, however, didn't really answer him, but instead told young Oedipus about his dark destiny. He was to kill his own father and then marry his mother. Realizing this, Oedipus flees Corinth to escape his disgusting fate. While on the road, he runs into a procession, and they get into a disagreement. Oedipus, filled with rage, proceeds to slay the entire procession except for a single survivor without ever learning their identities. Oedipus continues his wanderings and comes to the great city of seven-gated Thebes. At the crossroads on his journey between Thebes and Delphi, he meets a sphinx. He is made aware that he must answer the sphinx's riddle correctly in order to pass. Failure means his own death. The riddle was, what walks on 4 feet in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 at night? Oedipus answered, man. As an infant, he crawls on all 4s. As an adult, he walks on 2 legs, and in old age, he uses a walking stick. Oedipus was the first to answer the riddle correctly, and having heard Oedipus answer, the Sphinx was astounded and inexplicably killed herself by throwing herself into the sea. Oedipus had freed the city from the Sphinx, and following this, Jocasta, the queen of Thebes, offers to marry him, making him the king. This is because her previous husband, King Laius, was unfortunately and mysteriously murdered while out of town along with almost his entire entourage. Oedipus readily accepts Jocasta's hand in marriage, and he becomes the king of Thebes. His new kingdom, however, starts collapsing around him. His cities are immediately stricken with an unspecified plague that devastates the population. So he sends Jocasta's brother Creon to the oracle of Delphi to find out what can be done about it. When Creon gets back, he reports that the oracle has said that the sickness is being caused by a pollution on the land in the form of the man who murdered King Laius. The plague will be cured when they banish whoever that happens to be. Oedipus agrees, but the problem is that nobody knows who killed the king. And so Oedipus and his subjects start investigating, determined to bring this criminal to justice. He consults a blind seer called Tiresias. When Tiresias arrives, he does not accept to give a straight answer but insists that the murderer is known to Oedipus. This angers Oedipus, resulting in a rain of insults on the old Tiresias. However, the prophet stays mute. Finally, when Oedipus accuses him of being in bed with the murderer of King Laius, Tiresias reveals that the murderer is Oedipus himself. This gets the king angry and orders the blind seer thrown out of the palace. He does not believe Tiresias, instead believing that Creon is trying to spread evil rumors about him in order to steal his throne. Jocasta then tells Oedipus not to believe what the oracles always foretell, since she heard of how a group of bandits killed her husband. But the same oracles prophesied that her husband Laius would die at the hands of his son. So the oracles were not always right. However, when Oedipus heard of where Laius was killed, he became worried as he remembered an incident, and asks Jocasta to describe how the king looked like. The king then sends for the only surviving witness of the attack to be brought from his fields to the palace. Confused, Jocasta asks Oedipus what the matter is, and he tells her. Many years ago, at a feast in Corinth, a drunk man accused Oedipus of not being his father's son. Oedipus went to Delphi and asked the oracle about his parentage. Instead of answering his question directly, the oracle prophesied that he would one day murder his father and sleep with his mother. Upon hearing this, Oedipus resolved never to return to Corinth. In his travels, he came to the very crossroads where Laius had been killed and encountered a carriage that attempted to drive him off the road. An argument ensued, and Oedipus killed the travelers, including a man who matched Jocasta's description of Laius. A man then arrives from Corinth with the message that Polybus, the king of Corinth, who raised Oedipus as his son, had died. Oedipus is overjoyed because he can no longer kill his father, thus disproving half of the oracle's prophecy. However, he still fears that he might somehow commit incest with his mother. Eager to set the king's mind at ease, the messenger tells him not to worry, because Merope, the queen of Corinth, is not his real mother. The messenger explains that years earlier, a shepherd from the household of Laius brought him an infant that he was instructed to dispose of. The messenger, out of pity, had then given the child to Polybus, the king of Corinth, who raised him as his own. Oedipus asks for the shepherd, and is told that he is the same shepherd who witnessed the murder of Laius, and whom he had already sent for. Jocasta, realizing the truth, desperately begs Oedipus to stop asking questions. When the shepherd arrives, Oedipus questions him. It emerges that the child he gave away was Laius' own son. In fear of a prophecy that the child would kill his father, Jocasta gave her son to the shepherd in order to be disposed of. Jocasta, not believing what had just happened, ran to her chambers. Oedipus, realizing the oracle of Delphi was correct, calls on his servants to bring him a sword, that he might slay Jocasta with his own hand. But, upon entering her chamber, he discovers the lifeless queen has hanged herself. Out of despair, Oedipus gouges out his own eyes, exits the palace, and begs to be exiled, and laments having sired children to such a cursed family. Thanks for watching this video. We truly appreciate your support. Make sure you leave a comment down below, like the video, and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on new videos.